4 teenage girls were brutally murdered inside an Austin yogurt shop in 1991. And for over 30 years, no one truly knew who did it. But now, a shocking DNA match has changed everything. In this 4-part series, we take you step by step through the yogurt shop murders, one of the most haunting cases in Texas history. From the night of crime to wrongful convictions, and finally, the stunning DNA breakthrough that revealed the killer's identity. This is part. Stay tuned until the end, because we'll link to the next part so you can follow this case all the way to the shocking conclusion.
December 6, 1991, Austin, Texas. The night started like any other. The weekend was almost here, and for 4 teenage girls, the evening was supposed to be uneventful. Just another shift at the small frozen yogurt shop where they worked. The shop was called I Can't Believe It's Yogurt. It was a cozy, ordinary place, a spot where families would stop after dinner and kids would hang out with friends. But by the next morning, this cheerful little shop would become the scene of one of the most haunting crimes in Austin's history. A case so shocking, so brutal, that it would send ripples through the entire country. When firefighters arrived that night to put out a blaze inside the store, they were met with a nightmare. Inside the charred building were the bodies of 4 young girls: 17-year-old Jennifer Harbison, her 15-year-old sister Sarah, 17-year-old Eliza Thomas, and 13-year-old Amy Ayers, the youngest of the group. The girls had been tied up, assaulted, and shot. The fire had been deliberately set, an attempt to destroy evidence and cover the killer's tracks. Imagine that moment for the first responders, the shock, the silence that must have filled the room once the flames were out. This wasn't just arson. This was a carefully staged, deliberate massacre. And just like that, the entire city of Austin was thrown into fear. Parents held their children closer. News reports warned of killers on the loose. Detectives worked around the clock, pouring every available resource into finding whoever had committed this atrocity. But there were problems right from the start. The fire had destroyed most of the evidence. Witness accounts were unclear, leads were confusing, and the pressure on investigators was enormous. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And soon, it became clear that this case was unlike anything Austin police had faced before. Then came a major development. After a lengthy investigation, police arrested 4 young men: Maurice Pierce, Robert Springsteen, Michael Scott, and Forrest Wellborn. Their arrests made headlines across the country. The public was relieved. The families of the victims believed they finally had justice. But what followed over the next decade was a legal roller coaster that would take the case from open and shut to one of the most controversial wrongful conviction sagas in Texas history. All 4 men would eventually be released, their convictions overturned due to lack of physical evidence and questions about the validity of their confessions. So the case went cold again. Year after year, the families of the victims would gather on anniversaries of the murders, standing in front of cameras, begging for answers. Detectives who had worked the case never gave up, but time was running out. Would the killer, or killers, ever be found? For more than 30 years, this case was like a dark cloud hanging over Austin. People whispered about it, speculated about what really happened inside that yogurt shop. Every anniversary, news stations would air reminders of the tragedy, asking viewers to come forward with tips. But the truth remained just out of reach, until now. However, in 2024, investigators announced a stunning breakthrough. Using advanced DNA technology and forensic genealogy, the same method that famously brought down the Golden State Killer, they had finally found a match, a name, a suspect. And the person they identified wasn't just any suspect. He was a drifter, a violent man whose DNA has now been connected to multiple major crimes across several states. His name was Robert Eugene Brashers. But here's where the story takes a disturbing turn. Brashers had been dead for more than 2 decades, having taken his own life during a standoff with police in 1999. That means there will never be a trial, never a moment where the families can look the killer in the eye and hear a guilty verdict read aloud. But it also means one of Austin's darkest mysteries may finally have an answer. And that's where our story really begins. Because as shocking as this revelation is, it raises new questions. Who exactly was Robert Eugene Brashers? What was his history? And how many other crimes might he have committed before his death? Stay with me, because in the next section, we'll go back to that December night in 1991 and piece together everything that happened, step by step, to understand how this case haunted investigators for decades before being cracked wide open.
This case is far from over. Click right here to watch part 2, where we uncover what happened next. And trust me, you don't want to miss this twist. I'll see you in the next video.